Right now we are truly witnessing one of the fastest rise and falls in the history of online businesses. And it is all due to this young teenager. And usually I would not post a video about this because, as you know, my company is all about building YouTube channels for founders, for startups, for company owners, and making them money and leads. But here's the thing, this whole story is about content and how content was used in a completely wrong way. So let's get into the story. This thread from Maximilian Drago sums it up quite nicely. So you have these 5 app founders. They apparently had everything. So what I found stunning, they were apparently making 3.6 million per month with their app Kel AI. And then, just to get ahead of the story, these guys launched a course, but they did it in all the wrong ways possible. And if you are a business owner and you want to start producing content, maybe YouTube videos, maybe TikToks, shorts, whatever, and you want to start funneling that traffic onto your offer, there's a lot of learnings in this story for you. And the obvious question is, well, if you make 3.6 million per month with your app, then why do you launch a course? And then why also you do it like an absolute amateur? But let's get back to the story. Apparently 70 million revenue across all their apps, 300 million downloads. They had a lot of respect. Even I was following them and I was aware of their story and I really liked it. But then they tricked hundreds of creators into promoting their secret course. And here's how they did it. Essentially, they reached out to hundreds of builders on X and they wrote them something like this: "You've been invited, please tweet your own version of the phrase, what is app mafia?" And they added badges to their profile, so this was free promotion for people. A badge was displayed here, and then for weeks everybody was like, okay, what the fuck, right? Some of these guys, like Zach Yadagari, has a big following, super young guy, and he's promoted as the main founder behind the app Kel AI, which is an app that you pull out, you scan your food, and it tells you how many calories are in your food. And that's apparently the app that made 3.6 million per month. Allegedly, I've never seen any proof of these numbers, and now that they launched a course for $1,000 in the worst way possible, at least I'm starting to doubt that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? So they built anticipation. There was this app mafia thing, and then yesterday, actually 2 days from recording this, there was a big reveal. Zach posted this video, which many people find extremely cringeworthy, and it promoted a course hosted on WOP, $997. Now, we also found out how much they sold of this, and it will shock you actually. But first of all, they promoted this. Twitter was like going crazy. Everybody was disappointed because, again, if you make so much money with an app, why would you launch a course? Why would you do it in such a corny way, in such an amateurish way? They had a launch video, a launch live stream that was like really done in a super cheap way. And everybody was asking themselves, what's going on here, right? People were like, hey, you could do so many other things. You could have started a private cohort. You could have launched an accelerator that actually takes equity. You could have done some bigger conglomerate games, or you could have went on to build out one of these apps into something really big, and not be stuck, building small viral apps. Okay, they're making millions, but still you could take this to the next level, compete for the throne in the internet economy. But they didn't do that. They launched the course, and apparently here is what they made. 65 sales. So Daniel Vasallo uncovered this. 65 copies have been sold. Now, given that X went absolutely crazy, and on social media these guys really went viral for all the wrong reasons, well, it's quite a thing to only sell 65 copies. Now, Zach, of course, immediately went into defense mode and said 65 copies made us 300K. I don't know what the math here is. Probably they're upsells, right? Because 65 times a $1,000 offer would obviously not be 300K, but they have a couple of upsells behind that. Still, what happened was all the people who are involved in this app mafia and are still on the team of Zach Yetagari immediately went into defense mode. We made 250K. Well, Zach talked about 300K, but who cares? Then Zach said it will be super interesting to see how the public sentiment changes in the coming weeks. And he says in 3 months there will be big cohorts of apps conquering the world. Well, the question is, if these apps that are now joining your $1,000 course are going to be so successful and you are such a successful businessman, well, why then don't you go with this accelerator concept, right? Take shares and actually compete for the best talent. You don't compete for the best talent, by the way, by posting videos like this one, launch videos with a Lambo and super corny jokes and comments about, hey, I'm 18 years old and basically I don't work at all. I just live in a mansion and that's it, right? You are not attracting the best founders. You are attracting people that are extremely desperate. Now, they also made a lot of mistakes in terms of their video marketing, and we'll get to that in a second. I will actually get my content strategist to talk about what are the best practices if you want to convey trust and if you want to sell a lot, not just 65 copies on videos that got hundreds of thousands of impressions, right? But maybe let's get back to the story. They are extremely defensive, and you have guys like Brett Malinovsky, who I also admire a lot. He has a great podcast, but he's part of the WOP team, and so of course he is defending the app mafia. He's defending this course. He's saying it's fire. You have Steven Schwartz, also WOP CEO. Oh my god, not a course. He's selling a course. Holy shit, how could you sell something so easy? You should be doing nothing. No, the thing is, we are being fed different messages from the same source. If Zach says in 3 months they will be having the greatest cases, the greatest viral apps, then why not start with these people now? Why not take equity now, build great cases, and convince, VCs, investors this way, or build your own app empire this way? You should not be marketing this course, this is one-on-one marketing. Like, you can see this, every guru and so on, they're all doing the same thing. They're targeting people that are desperate for money and that are willing to pay this $1,000. Usually these are not people that are at the top of their game. They are people that are desperate, that want the money, that think, okay, I'll build this viral app, I'll make tens of thousands per month, and that's it. But these are not the people usually, okay, I'm not trying to judge here, but these are usually not the people that are the best of the best. The best of the best probably already have an app. It probably already is profitable, making money, got traction somehow, but they lack some of these building stones. Maybe they lack the genius marketing moves that Zach Yetagari pulled off. For example, let's give the guy his honor. He's really good, right? And then people like AP Builds obviously said, hey, this guy is so funny. It was a complete 180 degrees from the old Blake. Blake is the guy who was responsible for marketing of the Kel AI app, and it might be fun to watch playing this out. And that is exactly the problem. These guys pulled a complete 180 degree shift. Now, some people like Nico say, hey, the reason they are doing this is because you might be doing 3.6 million revenue per month with your app, but there's a difference between revenues and profit. Fair enough. When he was doing ecom, he got fooled by all the gurus with proven big numbers, and then he hit big numbers himself, 500k of sales in a year. But what was the profit? 5k, lol, with the cost of shipping, ads, and so on. But one big thing is that we are not talking about ecom here. In ecom, it's well known that the profit margins are really, really bad. You invest so much money into marketing, into paid ads. With viral apps, it should be a little bit better. I'm not saying these guys are having 90% profit margin, but they should have healthy profit margins if they are on top of their game. Now, the main reason that all of this escalated so much is this launch video. He says he's partying almost every night. Now he's got to go to class. They're making 6 million annual revenue with this one app, and then even more money with this other app. Anyone can do it, and you guys are just fucking lazy. Now, obviously, there is something valuable in here for business owners who want to build YouTube channels, who want to make content for their business, and that is the element of rage bait. You can play with rage bait, which these guys are obviously doing, and try to pour up some controversy around you, around your content, in order to sell more of whatever your company is selling. But in most cases, I would not recommend that. In most cases, it is much better to stick to a proven structure that will lead to the right people being targeted by your content, because many business owners make the mistake, and also Zach Yadagari probably made this mistake, that he's just talking to everyone at this point. And even VCs are outraged. Some of investors are outraged by this campaign. They said, wow, they had so much potential. They are not the target customers of this course. So the best for most business owners is to just target the people that will potentially buy your stuff. And sometimes this will just be a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand people. If your, let's say, YouTube videos get a couple of hundred views, that might be completely fine. Because if these, let's say, 500 views are from people that are your ICP, that are actually going to buy your stuff potentially, that's perfect. On YouTube, typically you have a very high conversion rates. So what we do with our customers is they post YouTube videos, and in the description of these videos you have a link to whatever. Sometimes it's a lead magnet, sometimes it's the possibility to book a call, sometimes it's something else. Usually high ticket products, and you have an insanely high conversion rate because people watch your videos for a long time and they get acquainted with you and they start trusting you, and that's exactly what you want to have. Now the problem here is they did not do that. They produced a video that is extreme in terms of rage bait, that destroyed their reputation, that was also quite short. Yes, they also had a launch video where they sat down together and they were in front of a flip chart and were discussing. The production value was incredibly low, incredibly amateurish. So all of these things are factors that were not done right. And now let's talk about how you can do it right. How can you reach exactly the right people for your business, and how can you hook them in the first seconds of your video? Make sure that also this thing just reaches the people that you want to reach, and subliminally sell your solution, as opposed to what these guys have been doing here, just completely rage baiting it, really just making it about your solution, and basically stirring up the whole anger of X. There's just a couple of rules that you need to keep in mind, and we'll ask my content strategist to talk about these rules. Now I just asked Daniel Gray, who's one of our content strategists. Daniel, come here. He has great experience both in terms of sales, which is a great asset, so he's really good at sales, but secondly, he really knows his stuff when it comes to content. And Together with Daniel and a couple of other content strategists at Channelcraft, we have developed a methodology on how to position yourself as a business owner, how to structure your videos in order to sell with these videos. So the primary goal is to sell more and to do it in a non-cringe way, not like these guys from App Mafia did it, to do it in a way that it's subliminal and it actually works. And of course there's much more to it, but Daniel can give you maybe like the 3 most important points that you should take into account when making a YouTube video.
All right, so if we're talking about the 3 most powerful rules that you need to follow for a successful YouTube video, and the YouTube video that actually gets you results, the first one is the intro. We all know that we live in an attention economy, so that means the intro needs to be the strongest part of your video, because if people stop watching after the intro, then all the value that you provide goes into the void. So there's no point in having a video that doesn't hook the attention right in the beginning. And there's a couple of simple steps you can take. I would say the most important is that your intro answers 3 questions. The first question is, what is your solution? So it needs to be crystal clear what you are providing as a solution, what you are suggesting as a solution for the problem you are talking about. It needs to be understandable, it needs to be concise, and it needs to be clear. The second point is that you need to demonstrate to the people why the solution works. Of course, I can claim everything, but I need to be able to provide supporting facts. Why is it that this solution works? And the third part is, why would you listen to me? I am telling you the solution, but why is it that me, my company, why is it that our team knows that this solution works? And this is a place, for example, where case studies work perfectly well. You can tell people that you have done this and it has worked. And if you answer these 3 questions in the intro, then you are sure to have hooked the attention, because you have provided proof that what you're talking about is going to work, and you've provided proof that you are somebody to listen to when it's about this particular solution. The next part of the video, and this is going to be the largest chunk of your video, the lion's share is going to be about maybe 90% of the video, is the body, it's the content, it's the information that you give, and it is really important that you stay away from selling too hard in that portion of the video. It needs to be all about value. You're providing value, you're answering questions, you're showing the process, you're giving your expertise, you're positioning yourself as a thought leader by telling people how it works, why it works, and by giving solution. Now, we all want to sell something, so it is okay if you can weave it in organically, naturally, if it makes sense that you can provide, for example, backstory to you. I did this for them. I did this. It caused these results. You can do subliminal sales. You can do subtle sales. But if you just push your solution as sales in that portion of the video, then something that's called sales resistance is going to happen, and people are just going to stop listening because you're not providing value. You're just trying to push your solution.
Which is kind of what happened with these App Mafia guys, right? The whole thing is just about selling, and we understand it's rage bait, so that's also a tactic, but they took it a little bit too far, and maybe you as a business owner also want to maintain a little bit more professional, surface, and you don't want to risk this rage bait tactic. You can try it, but it is very risky, and in their case, it completely backfired.
Yeah, 100%. And so let's assume you've done the intro correctly, you've gotten the attention, and you've provided a lot of value, so now people are listening. Now people believe in your solution, now people want to take a next step. You need to give them something to do. This is the CTA, the call to action. Now I'm convinced that you can do what you claim that you can do, but what specifically am I supposed to do now? Not as in, well, maybe give me a call or maybe shoot me an email someday and then no. You need to give a specific CTA. Download this. Write to this email with this, do this. Like, you need to give them something to do. This is what we call a specific call to action, that you can give them an action that they understand, they can take right now, and that will lead to some further steps along the way. So this is going to be the end of your video. You need to give them an action. That is extremely important, because if you don't, all the other value that you provided and the great intro that you did is going to amount to nothing, because people will simply forget about you in 24 hours if there is not an action attached to the video that you just watched.
Great. And of course there's so much more to it, right? But this is, if you want to approach this topic 80-20, you want to just start posting YouTube videos for your business, then this is what you should try to implement. And we are going to do exactly the same right now. We're ending with a strong CTA. If you think this is interesting, but you don't want to do it yourself, you don't want to be the one thinking about what ideas, what topics, titles, thumbnails should I cover on my YouTube channel, what scripts, how should I write them, and so on. Where do I find editors? If you want all of this done for you, then click the link below, book a call, and you'll talk to one of us and we'll figure it out for your business too. See you. Bye bye.